Here's a fun one I have for you today. Most of the books that you've seen so far are books that you can buy new, and I would encourage you to buy new, buy these books while you can, and support small publishers, support the people that I've shown you, because if you support them, they're able to continue to do what they do. And if you find something that's beautiful, find something that you love, support it, financially support it. But there's some books that I've received or bought that I bought used, and that you can still find floating around out there. This is a book that actually my mom bought me, and it's funny because my mom has no training in the arts whatsoever, and so sometimes she'll buy me a photo book, and it's always fascinating to see what she chooses to buy me. And she knocked it out of the park with this one. Okay, so this is a book called In Search of the Corn Queen. Okay, and it was photographed by an artist named Greta Pratt. I'm not sure, this is a soft cover book. It's still Smith sewn, though it's a soft cover book. You can buy this used. I think I saw it on AbeBooks for like $7 or $8, which is a total steal for something like this. Okay, so let's check it out. Let's see, I'm not sure when this book was published. It looks like, I don't know, early 90s, late 80s possibly. So it's gonna be of that era as for like the layout, the text that's used, things like that. There's a lot of text here. We're not gonna read the text, but there's a long essay about what's going on. As of what you would see in the time, there's an over explanation at the front end before you get to the photos, which I would definitely shy away from. Okay, we have another essay here, but we are getting our first photograph. Let's get through the essays. Let's get to the pictures. I want to see the pictures. Okay. So this was shot in Minnesota, and this is this guy running for Senate with his accordion. A lot of what we're going to see is like black and white, square, with flash, sometimes without. These twins with the sheep at Griggs County Fair. And these photographs were made at a variety of different fair situations over an expansive time through different small towns across America. This one's in Tennessee, this one's in North Dakota. The statue of this cow with the veiny udders, and then this family here enjoying, the fair. And they're sitting in the back. I feel like there's a recurring theme of square body Chevy pickup trucks that I somehow make their way into the books that I love, and I also drive that type of truck. That's what they're sitting in the back of. This girl, another promotion for someone running for Senate, someone politicking at the fair, the girl and the cow, and these people holding these babies. Like, why are the babies? It looks like there's numbers. Like, what contest do they have these babies in? I almost don't want to know. This kid, they have whips with these pigs. Though I grew up in the South, I've always lived in the South. These types of like 4-H and FFA and fairs and that world, I don't know a lot about. I didn't participate in things like that when I was a kid. Why does this kid have a cigarette? I hope it's a fake cigarette. This is in Arkansas, so these are my people, so it wouldn't surprise me. And look how cute this little kid is here. I'm assuming he's like the fair king or something. Now in a book of this era, the sequence is going to function much differently than maybe a contemporary photo book. I find that a lot of books of this era tend to work more as a portfolio or a kind of a best of than they do of a really intentional sequence. That's a general statement. I should be careful with making those kind of like broad blanket statements. But I think when we see a lot of like 2-page spreads where there's a photo on each page. I think you have to read a book in this time period a little differently because the evolution of visual language with the photo book was still kind of young. We're talking about an art medium that is still very, very young and that we're still exploring as for how do we bring someone into a world with the book. We see another set of twins. This woman with the Tri-County Fair with a burger that I would love to have. Coffee, it looks like it's only 30 cents. Wow. I think she's probably a judge looking at a jam of some sort. I assume that things like this still happen. I would kind of be sad if they stopped happening, though I'm not really sure about the cultural appropriation. We definitely, I mean, he's dressed up like Davy Crockett. Definitely probably should, I'm glad that we're kind of working through some of those things. We see a lot of these kind of like two kids together that, are they twins? Are they not? Are they, yeah, again, these two. This little girl, like this is a very kind of photojournalistic type of picture. I would like take this picture when I was at a newspaper, but a picture like this, what an amazing image. This little girl washing her hands, this woman drying her hands, the baby crying, the flash going off and casting the shadow of this woman through the mirror that we don't see because the flash is like directly in line. The purse. This is one of my favorite pictures from the book. It is, yeah, that's an amazing one. I'm assuming another beauty pageant, you know, and this woman, like the way she's holding her mouth is like, and then we're not seeing her eyes, so we're only like gazing at her body, which is what I feel like in those scenarios in beauty pageants. It's just kind of like this people staring at people's bodies, which I'm not a big fan of. Your mileage may vary. I think it's very problematic. And having a culture of like kind of a certain amount of objectification of mostly women is very problematic. We have these cowboys here all smoking. A work like this, again, is giving us a window into a culture and an era that, again, not participating in this then or currently. I don't know if this happens to this degree anymore. I don't know if there's the type of pomp and circumstance around this guy riding a horse. It looks like this looks so painful of this kid being held by his or her head with their hand kind of spun around like I don't know what's happening here, but it looks very, very uncomfortable. The police and the guns and, you know, this guy with the cigarette and his gun. This reminds me of my grandfather who worked for the sheriff's department for a time. The title on this one is Confederate Families Reunion in Driftwood, Texas, 1990. We have this, again, this cultural appropriation thing of people dressing up like indigenous people. Probably very common in this in these types of environments, but it's interesting to look back. I think we do have some actual indigenous people here, so we have kind of this weird blending of white people appropriating Native American culture and then possibly actual Native Americans performing or doing it. And then we have the American flag, and what is that? There's a lot of questions here. What I think is amazing that we can look at this work years later, and the artist, I think, is asking these questions. And we're also, I think, right now asking these questions of American identity, cultural appropriation. Wow, that's the tiniest little fish. This guy looks so grizzled, and this kid has such a funny little look on his face, and you know, there's so many different beautiful little things to look at. And I think it's important to point out too that like we can see some of this very critically of like, why do they do this, or why would they, you know, objectify these people in this way? And I think that is happening here, but also there's an affection towards these people. There's an affection towards like seeing the value in what they're doing. Both of those are existing at the same time. I think it's easy to do one or the other. It's easy to be really critical, and it's also easy to be overly like glorifying someone or their situation. To do both, though, at the same time is where something magic happens, something special happens. And it's a more complex conversation. I think we need more of those types of things, of talking about politics, talking about cultural identity, talking about, you know, the American identity. What does it mean to be American? I mean, golly, these pictures are just so fantastic. The sparkles and all, and they're kind of reflecting on the girls' faces. And we have like this kid dodging and these kids cheesing, and this guy with the, you know, soda in his little styrofoam cup. This woman here hidden in the office, and that picture's kind of off kilter. And these two gentlemen together here in Mississippi. And it's kind of, I don't know, I feel a bit of discomfort. And I like that the white man is on like a black background and the black man is on like a white background, and these two separate things. This girl, I mean, what a beautiful portrait, and the size of the girl's feet because of the kind of using a wider angle lens. And then we have these two older people, king and queen, with the American flag, and how kind of like proud he is, and kind of she looks proud but also slightly embarrassed. Why is there a napkin or something wrapped around his finger? And why is this man in the foreground out of focus? You know, there's a lot here. The bundt cake, because they're doing the oh gosh, I forget what this is. I know someone will remind me of the cakewalk. Cakewalk, there it is. Man, I remember doing cakewalks and just really hoping that I would get, you know, whatever was the nicest thing on the table. The muddiness and the wrestling these pigs, and then I think like there's a guy with a video camera back here. There's a lot here, and there's no way I would have known about this book. I've not heard of this photographer. I'm sure that means that there's that's a me problem, that I've not heard of this photographer before. But sometimes finding these books randomly, you end up with this treasure. I mean, I love this work. I love this book with all of its problems, at least like cultural problems of the time, but the way in which it's photographed, how she renders these spaces and people, the emotional qualities that we get, the joys, the kind of somberness. This one's in Union City, Tennessee, which is actually like an hour away from where I live here. It's really fantastic work, extremely fantastic work. And I got this because my mom, I think, saw it used somewhere and just bought it for me. I would encourage you to frequent used bookstores. Go to your local library. Sometimes local libraries, I just picked up a few books that were, you know, more catalogs of photographers in my local library that they were getting rid of. They were just selling it for $1. You never know when you can find a treasure like this at a used bookstore. And yeah, maybe it's not collectible. It's not a collector's item. Like, who cares? If the work is great, then like, buy it, take it. Give it a safe home to exist in, because who knows I don't know where these other books exist. I've never seen a rocking chair, folding chair, but the woman carrying them going to some Gothenburg Harvest Festival. I mean, what a strange and amazing picture of the white, and this looks like I can't tell. I mean, and maybe that's a white guy, you know, in the white horse and the white clothing with the white like RV behind them. And then here's seeing these beauty queens through the corn stalks, to kind of harken back to the name of the book. Okay. So there's a little biography. Looks like this photographer, Greta Pratt, was nominated for a Pulitzer. So yeah, amazing. And she photographed for the New York Times Magazine, New York Times, Philadelphia Inquirer, several others. Fantastic artist, fantastic photographer. And the only reason I knew about it is because my mom saw a used book and thought of me and bought it for me. So what a special gift to have. So anyway, I would, I tend to hit up like Abe Books a lot, because then I can look at people carrying used books from all over the place. I don't, I can't vouch for the ethics of if they're paying people appropriately that are carrying these books, but it's a way to find used books that's not Amazon. And I would say don't support Amazon if you can. But buy used books. Buy used books. Even if this has some sticky stuff from a sticker, that was like a price tag or whatever, no worries. There's a little, it's not a perfect condition book. It's faded, it's got some scratches and scuffs on it, but to me, it doesn't matter. The pictures are fantastic. They're gorgeous. And even if there's a tear here or there, like, I'm not going to worry about it because I love the pictures. And again, that's the reason we buy photo books, is because we love the pictures. So check this one out, In Search of the Corn Queen by Greta Pratt.